And Luna, how is to live being a celiac child?
What is it like to live with celiac disease? You're probably thinking, well, it's very easy. Instead of eating gluten containing gluten, you just eat gluten free food. But I'm afraid it's not as easy as that. Obviously, I eat gluten free food, but apart from that, you have to be aware of other factors. 1. Traces. 2. Contamination. And 3. School. Traces. Not all foods contain gluten. Examples include cheese, guacamole, and hummus, as the ingredients do not contain gluten, wheat. However, they can contain traces of gluten. Celiacs always have to choose labeled gluten-free, either on the front or in the ingredients list. But why? It's because manufacturers are not required to indicate whether a product may contain traces of gluten. Therefore, if a food does not state that it's gluten-free, it may or may not contain gluten. 2. Contamination. Contamination is one of the most important issues for people with celiac disease to be aware of. How can a person with celiac disease become contaminated? They can get contaminated in many places, such as restaurants, parties, and even their own home. How does this happen? It's simple, because if there's any gluten containing food, you should be in alert. For example, someone touches gluten containing food, such as bread, and then wants to serve themselves more. They grab the same ladle that everyone else uses and contaminate it by leaving traces of gluten on it. When the celiac person then grabs the ladle, their hand could become contaminated, and they might then bring it to their mouth. Alternatively, if they want to drink more water and haven't washed their hands, the water would be contaminated when they grab it. There are many ways to become contaminated. It's true that for someone who does not live with celiac disease every day, it's difficult to get used to that complicated world. For example, I am at a birthday party. There is food with and without gluten. A child takes cheese from my bowl, but they have eaten a hot dog beforehand. By taking the chips, they have left traces of gluten, so when I go to take a chip and bring it to my mouth, I have contaminated myself. 3. School. School is the most complicated place for me to avoid contamination. What everyone thinks, including me before, is that it's very simple to eat in the cafeteria without getting contaminated. You just need to make sure the food is gluten-free, but it's not as easy as that. Some children in the cafeteria don't know what celiac disease is. Some of them don't even know what wheat is. They don't take care to avoid contamination. They come to eat, but also to play, throw food on the table and use breadcrumbs or even gum and chunks of bread from one end of the table to the others. In my opinion, the cafeteria poses a risk to those with celiac disease. The supervisors who oversee the cafeteria for 2 hours can too much either. The main tasks are to make those 2 hours pass as quickly as possible, supervise during recess, and serve food in the cafeteria. One day I told my mother, "Mom, I can't keep eating at that table, it's dangerous." We talked to the school cafeteria coordinator, and from that day on, I sat at a small table almost 20 meters away from my classroom table, next to the cafeteria office. I would take a book with me and read when I have finished eating. However, there was still a risk of contamination from the cafeteria workers. Some of the workers did not have experience with celiac disease and did not understand what it meant to have it. As mentioned previously, simply serving the bread free first and then the food without washing their hands could have contaminated me. The cafeteria can be a dangerous place for someone with celiac disease if you don't have absolute control over everything in there. As I said before, the world of celiac disease is complicated, and only those who live with it every day really understand it, and I know.